when you live in Poland, you are surrounded by Chopin from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. You know, when you travel to Poland, I don't know if you have ever traveled to Poland, but the first thing that will greet you when you land in Warsaw, it's the name of the airport. It's called the Chopin airport. And then when you go through the customs and go through the duty free, all you see is Chopin vodka everywhere. And we used to have Georges Sand cigarettes, and I'm not sure if they still have them, but Chopin is everywhere. You turn on the radio, you take a taxi, and there's Chopin on the radio, and the taxi driver will talk about the upcoming Chopin competition, or it's just a part of life. And also the way just regular people look at musicians. I think thanks to this great composer, we earn that status of wow, you're a musician, so you can play Chopin, so it's very special. It's a very special place for musicians, and Chopin is with you from morning till night. This is quite amazing. So I say that this is I have a special connection. Absolutely. I feel it's in the language, and it's in the culture, understanding of the history of Poland, and the works of literature, the ones that he was inspired by. I can read them in the original language. I mean, it's absolutely, I do have special connection.
How do you teach students understanding Chopin, or is your approach on Chopin's music in general?
So this is a great question. I think I teach them by, just like any other composer, really, to follow his words absolutely 100%. Chopin was very specific in his writing, what he wants from us, and following exactly what he says in the music. That, I think, this is the key. Of course, there are other things. Of course, knowing all of his output as a composer. So when you're studying etudes, you have to know mazurkas, and you have to know the concerti. You have to know everything he wrote, the songs. When you're studying Chopin, you have to sort of have at least an idea what was happening in Poland at that time. And we always talk about it. What was he thinking? Who did he meet? Who are his favorite authors? Who was he writing to? What was he writing to this friend or that friend about? Sort of being in life. I mean, and this not only goes for Chopin. Understanding every composer, you have to enter the universe of each composer, and not just studying an etude of Rachmaninoff, but know what was Rachmaninoff thinking? Who was he talking to? Where he lived? And same with Chopin, same with Prokofiev, Beethoven, Mozart, everybody.
I would love to get into teaching a little bit. What's your general approach in teaching a young child?
I try to go away from general approaches, because I feel that the first thing that I gravitate to is students' uniqueness. And everybody has something that's absolutely unique about them. And I think it should be every person has to be approached from a different side. We have to feel, as pedagogues, what is the door that we should knock on for the student to open up. So I think that moment where first of all, passing that border of mistrust, they have to trust you in order to learn from you. They have to want to learn from you. So that's very important, psychological sort of aspect that is very important. I was always very, very fortunate to have teachers that allow me to open myself to them. And it's very, very important. If you don't have that, there's probably going to be a bumpy road ahead. Another thing is that, so uniqueness of a teacher, of a student, is very, very important, and approaching a student from different perspective, each student differently. But there are, of course, certain general things that I try to work on. First of all, as I said earlier, following the composer, following the style. But if we're talking about very early students, young students, we always pay a lot of attention to reading, to learn how to read. It sounds maybe very silly, but I think this is the most important. You know, the students, when they see a text in front of them, they have to understand it. It's not really about learning the song, but you know, to see the clef, to see the key. What does F major mean as opposed to D minor? What does the tempo indication mean? To really understand the rhythm, to count the rhythm. All of them hate it at the beginning, these things that I do with them, but because I spent about 5, depending on the length of the lesson, but it's from 5 to 10 minutes even, on sight reading. And we not only try to learn how to read the music, but also understand what's a waltz, you know, what's a minuet, what is a fugue, what is, you know, all these things. I think this is very, very important to understand. So for them, they don't only see a piece of paper in front of them, but they see a living organism, you know. So I put a lot of attention to another thing that I put a lot of attention to is understanding the harmony. I try to incorporate ear training, understanding the intervals, hearing minor, major, diminished, augmented chords, hearing. They all have to. Some of them also hate it, but some of them actually love it. We play cadences. Let's say we play a piece in G major. It's like, can you play me G major cadence? Can you transpose this a one step higher, on one step lower, on the spot? When we play chorale, can you play passing notes? Can you play some cadence? Stuff like this. Even with the youngest kids, of course, we have to understand if they're how serious are they about what they're doing? Are they going to really doing it? Are they going to be doing this at home or not? But I've been blessed with a lot of wonderful younger students that are really, really serious about what they're doing. So they all do that. We all do that. Another thing is that I really, which is very rare in United States, is I try to see students more than just once a week. You know, when I had my classes in Poland and then in Odessa too, I saw a teacher twice a week. You know, and because how are you going to fight bad habits or you know, teach them good habits if they just see you once a week for 45 minutes or an hour? You know, of course, later when you're in your 20s or you know, it's different. But at the beginning stage, I think it's crucial to see a student more than once. Sometimes I see them 3 times. You know, they just right now with distant learning, we can just meet for 10 minutes on Skype or Zoom and just go over certain things that I know that they're doing correctly during the week. And yeah, the effects are tremendous. You think you may think, oh, I have to spend 15 minutes, but those 15 minutes in the middle of the week will earn you so much more, so much quicker results later along the way.
How do you teach students how to practice at home?
Lots of it's unfortunate, but I think a lot of teachers just take for granted that students have to practice. And I actually, when I was a teenager, I felt that maybe I wasn't shown how to practice. And when I was 15, 16 years old, I remember practicing 11, 12 hours a day. I was just obsessively practicing. But probably out of those 12 hours, you could squeeze in, I don't know, maybe 2 that had any meaning. So definitely using some the teacher has to be a guide and tell them how to practice. They're basically, I always try to tell them that there has to be a goal, and we write down the goals. You know, I always give this analogy of practicing as hanging out on the construction site. You know, you could have workers on the construction site for hours and hours and hours, and they are on the construction site. They're working, they're doing something, but they're not building anything. You know, so there has to be a visible, tangible goal that you have to strive for and build. And once you achieve that goal, you go to the next one. Practicing just for the, you know, for the sake of, okay, I'm going to do 4 hours right now. I don't understand. I just don't get it. Of course, certain hours have to be for just physical work have to be there. But even that, you know, it has to have some kind of goal, some kind of meaning. Everything you do has to have some kind of meaning. And then when you do that, you start to develop. These things happen later automatically. You know, when a student learns how to practice with goals, then these things, they don't even have to think about them. The brain sort of does it for them.